We're going to talk about guru impact. So what does guru impact mean? It means in your marketplace, there's celebrities. So think about your marketplace. Who are the celebrities?
We know that.
Oh, we got a background echo there, Brian, with your noise. So I'm going to give you a second to figure that out. And how is it going? Can you speak?
I can speak. I don't hear an echo on my end, boss.
Oh, I do. The recording's going to pick it up. But anyways, well, let's keep going. Technology, so much fun. All right. So the idea of celebrity in the marketplace, think about your marketplace. So in my marketplace of entrepreneurs, coaches, and service providers, people who will do what it takes to get a better result and have a better experience. That's the world that I've been in for a long time. And who are the celebrities right now? They shift. I'm still putting the Russell Brunson at the Celebrity Council. I'm putting Alex Ramosi as, PepsiCo inspiration. And I put Tony Robbins there. We got an echo still, Brian, as the mindset guru at the Celebrity Council. Now, that works for a lot of people. Think about your marketplace and who your celebrities are and how the opinions they're projecting out into the marketplace impact you in a positive or negative way. That's what Brian and I are going to talk about. So Brian, in your marketplace, who are the celebrities that impact you in terms of your own thinking?
David Goggins, Jocko Willink, Wim Hof, Andrew Huberman, the name of the Oxid Advantage author. Those are some of the big ones. Aubrey Marcus as well on the psychedelic business ownership life stuff.
Yeah.
Those are the ones I can rattle off immediately.
And how did you describe your marketplace?
How would I describe my marketplace? That's part of the challenge. So I get to really know my marketplace a lot better. I've been like looking at this lake, like it's cold in there. I don't really want to jump in the ice bath again.
Uh-huh.
I don't really know the answer to that. I have some theories, and I get to run some experiments for myself. I have experts that told me what my market is, and I don't know if that's true yet.
The interesting part of it with the ice bath is you studied with Wim Hof, and how many ice baths have you done?
Not enough.
Not enough.
Like 1,200 something.
1,200 ice baths.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. The same experience every time. I don't want to do this. and 10
right.
seconds later, I'm so happy that I did. It's a liar, right? The way I feel getting in the ice bath, it's not a liar. Like, it can kill me if I try and fight it. But, like, this whole thing just goes so much better if I surrender to the process.
I think there's two types of celebrity in a market. There's guru celebrity. I call them opinion projectors. So the opinion projectors have succeeded and found the answer, and now they're going to tell you what it is. There's also the sage wisdom transmitters in the marketplace. And the sage wisdom transmitters teach you something that helps you find your own way and find yourself. Those are very, very different things. In fact, they're the opposite from my perspective. So in your marketplace, I know we've talked enough about this. Wim Hof to you is a sage wisdom transmitter, not a guru projector.
He's sage, yes. Because his focus is, how do I bring out the guru in you? His phrase that I love is, boom, the guru is in you. Like, oh, this guy's real deal. What else is here?
Yeah. Yeah. Now let's talk about David Goggins. So for you, what's your perspective on David Goggins?
A year ago, I was like, he's a fucking coward. Right? He's doing all of these things not to feel fear. That was the story that I wrote.
Yeah.
And now, with a little more time and experience and compassion, we're trying to solve the same problem. I'm using breath and energy. He's using, like I thought he was running away from his fear by just violating fear and doing the opposite of, but he's learning how to dance with it and figure out what's real, what's not real.
So I'm thinking about Russell Brunson a lot because I'm rewriting his book, Expert Secrets, because it doesn't make any sense to me. That book, I understand the book well, but in a way, where it doesn't make sense to me as a way to do things. It doesn't work for me, and I don't think it's what really works. Defining works as a comprehensive solution to the issues of change to get the better experience out of being an entrepreneur or coach or service provider. And I'm trying to understand him better. And what I love about Russell Brunson is his originality at the beginning.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So the original story that I like the most, and
Uh-huh.
I won't go through his whole story, but the moment in his story where he realized my crowd are funnel hackers, and he named it. And he said, they're not entrepreneurs because the entrepreneurs just want me to do the marketing for them so they can get clients. And he said, I don't want to hang around with those people. I like the people who love persuasion marketing, direct response advertising, and want to play with it. You know, and I'm like, that I get.
I had a conversation yesterday with somebody, and they're like, "How's your business going? Could be better. Yeah, I could dig in more. What's your funnel like?" I'm like, "I don't have one." Did you not even start? Yeah, you've been doing this for 6 years. Where's your funnel? Tried that. That's not what I like.
Yeah. And that's what I learned. So the lesson from Russell Brunson was I could not give two shits about persuasion marketing, funnels, or funnel hacking. And I took on the belief, not his fault, that I needed to.
Mm.
Now, to me, that puts him in the opinion projector category in terms of impact.
Mm-hmm.
His intent is to be a liberation mechanic, which is transmission of wisdom. The impact on the way he puts himself out there is not that at all. From my perspective, it's pure opinion projection saying, do it like me.
Two stories. So last night I was doing some work in Kabbalah live training with relationships. I made it about 3 minutes into that before I realized this is an opinion projector. This
Oh,
doesn't resonate for me. I'm sure it's good for some people, but like I'm out. Right. Second thing, I did a like a DMT led breath work. I wasn't leading it. I was a participant, which was nice.
hmm.
And in that, the guy leading it was like, "It's always better to breathe through your nose." I'm like, not true.
No,
It's not.
it's not true.
And when I zoom back, and he's in the center of the shock group is people that don't have an awareness of how they're breathing. So always breathe through my nose is better than sometimes breathing through my mouth on accident. But like there's some accidental goodness in mouth breathing and making DMT and these psychedelic experiences you just can't get to via the nose.
You just nailed it. So I think what's going on with Russell Brunson and Alex Hormozy, and maybe they're teaching this to Tony Robbins because Russell Brunson's his marketer, is that they believe something that has an assumption underneath it. And the assumption is most people are not prime movers.
Mm-hmm.
So, in other words, most people are just sheep that go along. And it's in his book, actually. He doesn't use those words. I'm pretty stark about the way I describe things, so I want to make sure it's clear. So this is sacrificing accuracy for clarity to sell stuff.
Mm.
So creating a form that's not really real to get beginners going somewhere, I think is a big part of what they're all doing.
I think so too. And I think there's a particular level of kindness. I'm going to assume kindness in that.
Intent
Right?
kindness.
Intent kindness. Yes. In
Mhm.
that you don't like your life. You're a 9 to 5 puncher of the clock, which, there's something to be said for that. And you're in pain. And so I have a hammer, and so everything looks like a nail. You should do this. And in the beginning of the journey, I don't know any better. Like, all right, cool. You're spending $30,000 a month on marketing. I see it everywhere. It must be meant to be. So I take the course, and then the journey starts.
I think it there's an anchoring issue. So when you're following like a Dan Kennedy as your guru, you're building on a house of sand. So there's termites infesting the pillars of the foundation of the house.
Yes.
And the impact of Dan Kennedy is selling shitty products. So it's a method. It's a method of, so people don't know, Dan Kennedy is a genius innovator, marketer. So what he figured out was how to use free media time on late night TV and sell from the stage, persuade from the stage. So he figured out how to get people into a hypnotic trance using mind techniques for persuasion marketing to buy stuff they didn't want or need, but bought because they felt better when they
Mhm.
bought it. So it worked from the standpoint of measurable results. Now, Russell Brunson built his entire edifice on top of those kinds of principles, which don't seem or even strike me as real in terms of value for an individual who's trying to find freedom, satisfaction, happiness, and get results.
That's all of it. And the danger that I imagine, I can't say I notice, right? So I'm just going to share with you my theory.
Mm-hmm.
In that if I do the funnel hacking, marketing, sales stuff, I can get the money. The question is, do I get to keep it? Like you said, termites, sand.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it that way, and I also don't want to do it in a way where I have to sacrifice my authenticity. It's like, I've done the Chris Voss stuff, the Black Swan. I've done the NEP, the neural emotional persuasive questioning.
Can you define these things as you go? Because a lot of people don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, Chris Voss, FBI hostage negotiator.
Okay, talk about that a little bit. So he's a guru, or is he transmitting sage wisdom, or a combination, or what's the impact of Chris Voss on you?
Chris Voss, to me, is a operator. He's learned how to use counterflow tactics to get to know. Hey, would it be crazy if we did this tomorrow? Hey, would you be opposed to? And it elicits a no instead of a yes.
Was that like an NLP mind trick kind of experiment, or
With
what?
Chris Voss, it's not a trick because of the intention behind it. It's very
Okay,
easy to use that technique for not good. And the market's saturated with it, and it feels manipulative now. Like, oh,
yeah,
Black Swan, Chris Voss, got it. Jeremy Miner, he created neural emotional persuasive questioning.
got it. Okay, now I'm starting to get it.
It works, right? It's one level deeper than strategic selling. How does this affect you, though, personally?
Yeah.
And so again, it comes down to intention. Why am I using this? Am I using this to legitimately solve a problem and get somebody out of their own way? Great. But the challenge is if I do it their way and there's an other, million space monkeys running the same experiment, and the market's like, all right, I know where this is
We
from.
got you now. We're on to you.
Even if this isn't true, but it feels disingenuous, right? So what we talked with Matt yesterday, as an artist, as a writer, authenticity or doing what has worked in the past.
Mm.
And what you're teaching me or helping me remember, like no one else can do it like I can do it.
No one else can do it like you can do it. That's right. And so my version of what you're talking about is Robert Cialdini. So he's a professor at Arizona State University, and he wrote a book, Influence, and it's exactly the opposite of what I want to be doing in my life and what I want to be sharing with people and helping people do. And there's I'm going to go to 3 reasons quick why that guru opinion projection had an impact on me that helped me carve out a lane for myself. That's how I look at it. So I was about 6 to 8 months in on Russell Brunson's stuff, which is a lot of it's based on Cialdini's persuasion science and experiments about how to trick people into buying stuff. And Dave, who was my partner in the company at the time, which we folded that, said, "You're going to end up being a media buyer." He says, "Are you sure you want to do this? Because whoever spends the most on media wins." And I'm like, no, I really don't want that, because I used to work with a lot of media buyers at big agencies that spend, tens of millions of dollars on digital media. And I'm like, no, I don't want to be in that business at all. So he's like, well, why are we doing this? So we backed out of that. The second impact on me was I felt terrible about it all the time, even though I was learning how to do it. And I'm like, I'm not good at this in the way these people are good at it. And I don't want to be good at it. That was two. And then third, I'm attracting a lot of people that are in pain and want me to have an answer for them.
Right.
So that doesn't get me my objective, which was a permanent solution to change as an entrepreneur. So I have revenue source come in that doesn't require me to do stuff I don't want to do all the time.
Oh, the stuff that you don't want to do.
Right.
It's like the body already knows the answer.
That's right.
And I want to name a big principle for me is the difference between being rich and prosperous.
Yeah, that's it.
Rich is heavy. It's stuck. It's like molasses. Like
Yeah.
I gotta keep feeding the beast. I don't want to live like that.
So is Alex Hermosi molasses rich, or is Alex Hermosi inner prosperous connected with tons of money that came as a result of being prosperous?
I think Alex Hermosi is still enjoying the victory lap.
Oh, yes, the victory lap. That's right.
Of him and Layla coming together and like at a miracle moment where like only a miracle will fucking solve this.
And they got a miracle in the movie theater scene in the book and offers is the most important part of that book to me.
So what I feel in this, I feel Alex kind of like Elon Musk. Like I got something.
Yeah.
I went through this. I want to make your path easier in that.
Yeah. The intent is there.
The intent is there.
Yeah.
And the understanding, in my opinion, my experience too, in that both Elon and Alex aren't tapped in to higher intelligence.
I think that would be a fair statement.
They've taken what's been done before and they made the next generation smart car. You know,
Yeah.
like cool. It's still a smart car. I want a car that bends gravity. You know.
Yeah.
And so the union between the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere, and there's a major trend that I see happening. I think the early adopters, the Aubrey Marcus, he sold his company for billions of dollars.
Mhm.
It was a supplement company called On
Wow.
It, one of the finest training facilities in the world. He did a shit ton of ayahuasca to figure out, hey, what are the lessons? In a way you can't do in therapy. So he was willing to tap in. The General Grossman quote I like a lot. If I ever find myself in a fair fight, I have not appropriately prepared. Max effort.
Yeah.
And I don't mean max effort in what everybody else is doing. Like I get to pioneer my authentic way of remembering.
Yeah, it's so right on. And I forgot where I was going to go with this. I had this
You
thought.
asked me about Alex Hermosi, where he's at in this.
Yeah, I think he's such an interesting character to me because I want to offer an alternative to him, and because I don't, I think the impact of what he's doing is profoundly troubling and negative for the entire society for so many reasons. And the same with Elon Musk, both of them. It's very simple. A couple of years ago, I went through the seduction crisis. So the seduction crisis for me, and I have this all journaled in detail because I was trying to figure out what the hell's going on. The seduction crisis is, Larry, you're special. You have special gifts.
Oh yeah.
The seduction crisis. You're special. Now my version and Elon Musk and Alex Hermosi's version is going to be totally different, but it doesn't matter. So Elon Musk's version is I'm going to put my face on Mars, and I will have the only fueling station up there, and I own it. Alex Hermosi's version is see me on stage, look at myself in the mirror. I'm looking at myself in the mirror a lot. So the impact, despite the intent, is attracting as a false prophet followers that want the answer from that person. And now he's confused. I see it all the time because he's like, these assholes are trolling me. And I'm like, no, they're not. They're telling you the truth. That's called white shadow projection. Right?
Yes. And what I'm noticing, I teach something called invincibility.
Yes, I know.
It's dangerous medicine. I'm invincible. You can't hurt me. Not true. But the posture of invincibility tempered with humility. They gotta travel together, right? So you've won the marketing world, Alex, and it must feel incredible to have made it and to feel impacting the lives of a lot of people.
Yeah.
And there's not a way to like know the impact of that long term yet. Not telling you not to do that.
No.
And I really admire your posture, your decision, despite the reality distortion field that you and Layla navigated. Like it's a beautiful story.
Yeah.
And the danger that I find is like I don't need people doing it my way. Please don't. It's not authentic, and we're not going to discover all the treasures. And for me, like heaven on earth now is a big mission for me. I don't
Yes.
want to go to Mars. I want heaven on earth now. And I think the only way that that happens is if every human can share their divine gift, their authentic gift that only they can do.
Yeah.
And so that's the work that I want to do. And if Alex or Elon has a different mission set, that's great. Maybe that's their role to play in all of this, and we get to spar with each other and compare and contrast, like a great rivalry.
I love
Um,
that. I love that.
I don't
So,
compete, Larry. I don't compete. We got
yeah,
to
me
cooperate.
neither.
Like,
I don't
and I know
compete.
that's an opinion projection, but that's what I want to see. How can we cooperate and figure this thing out together?
I don't think it's an opinion projection. I think it's a connection into principles
Mm-hmm.
at the deepest level that other people may see as an opinion. But
Mm.
it's certainly not an opinion. It's true. It's about cooperation. Um, I think the sparring partner idea is so perfect. I love it. Um, so if Alex Hormozi's destiny is to look at himself in the mirror and be King Midas, and the Emperor has no clothes story allows me as the little boy in the story to say, "Hey, mommy, the Emperor has no clothes."
That's
And
right.
everyone is like, mommy's like, "Shush, you're going to get in trouble." And I'm like, "Good. Mommy, the Emperor has no clothes." And everybody looks and says, "Who the hell is this asshole?" Um, but they're also looking and saying, "Oh, you're right. He doesn't." And then when is the tipping point? So in the story, as it goes, there is a tipping point. And I'm excited about the tipping point for us and what we're doing with Entrepreneur Experience Campus and our work.
Um, I'm getting a little triggered in this,
Yeah,
and I'm feeling a level one, level two analyzing of Elon and Alex, and I think it's
yeah,
deeper than that. There's deep family wounds in all of this, and
yes.
the traumatized king. So I want to be sensitive to that and figuring out whatever the fuck is in front of me.
Can you talk about that? Because that is where we're going with this is there's a reason why people have a particular life journey that no one else can understand. So judging what they're doing is not the same is what I'm talking about,
Right.
which is positioning my company, our company, against them to succeed by offering an alternative to people.
I would say an enhancement. Right. There's some of the things that they're doing which is useful. I think. Uh, where am I going
I
with
don't
that?
see it as an enhancement. I see it as a direct,
A different.
dramatic alternative. 7 Up to Coca-Cola and Pepsi.
Yeah, I'm having one of those fun moments on a live broadcast where I forget what I was talking about.
Yeah, let's go back
Uh,
to what you said because you
yeah.
said something important. Is I read part of Walter Isaacson's book about Elon Musk, and he's got some serious stuff from his background.
Yeah.
Alex Hormozi's got the immigrant thing. prove to dad, prove to the world, prove
Yes.
to America that I can do it. That stuff is real.
Yeah.
And I respect it. And the fact that he busted his ass and slept on gym floors, I've done shit like that too for years.
Mm-hmm.
I respect him. And that's what he
Yeah.
says in his broadcast. He says, I care about respect. I respect him.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. Impact? Don't like it.
Yeah, so we have a duty as men, especially to tell the truth.
Yeah.
I saw my friend Kyle the other day, and I was like, "Hey, Kyle, if we're sparring in the jiu-jitsu gym, and you're like, dude, your abs are weak." Oh, thank you. You highlighted a weakness for me I couldn't see, and that's how men work together. Those of us in the masculine, right? Not sure how it works for women. Encouragement seems to be the thing there. But again, how do we cooperate, right? It's, East Coast, West Coast, holy, Biggie, Tupac, they really advanced.
Don't kill anybody.
That's not what I'm getting. But in terms of making the art, right? The the rivalry, I think it was staged, right?
Oh, to build the industry.
To build, that particular genre of music now is on Broadway. That's amazing.
That it worked.
Amazing. It worked.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And for me as an unknown, to get known requires being visible. And my approach to get known and to help other people get known and tell their stories one chapter at a time, which is the workshop we're doing with Matt Harms, the ghostwriter. It's a brilliant ghostwriter on our campus. It comes from Trout and Rice's book Positioning. So I read that book when I was in my 20s, when I was selling marketing communications. And I thought, this is one of the most brilliant things I've ever seen. And I've been trying my whole life to do it. And now I'm doing it. And the whole idea of the book is people have only 5 or 7 things in their mind at any given time.
Right.
So in the entrepreneur world, they got Russell Brunson in their mind. They got Alex Hormozi in their mind, maybe Grant Cardone, maybe Elon Musk. It varies. Because there's sub niches of people and everyone's got their own mind. So every single mind's unique too with what's showing up in there. What you want to be is the beyond burger to burger. I can't believe it's not butter to butter. Don't be vegetable spread. Don't be soy meat patty, whatever the hell that
soy
stuff is. Yeah, whatever the hell that is.
Yeah.
Right.
I need to, I remember, I remember where I was going earlier.
Yeah.
And in your mind, Larry, I'll answer this too. What's the difference in your mind between I'm right and you're wrong? Like separate ideas. I'm right versus, hey, you're wrong. Is there a difference for you?
I don't think it exists. I mean, I'm right and there is no I'm right and you're wrong. It's this is my experience or my observations, and that's your experience and your observations. And I don't understand why you have them. What I do know is opinion projection is when someone is not conscious of what they're doing yet.
Right.
That's true. If someone has an unresolved inner conflict,
yes,
that is going to be projected as an opinion out into the world and the society. And that's what's going on with this the guru crowd, the opinion projector crowd.
We were talking yesterday about dogma and how that impacts individual opinions. Without a conscious choice of it. I see that as the sparring partner to unity directly in that. Mm-hmm. And for me, the I'm right because I have to be right is not what I'm saying. And hey, this is wrong. It's not quite it. Like it's not an accurate model. Like when I heard you talk about your take on Elon and Alex, I'm like, well, that's not a complete picture. Like it's very simplified, and there's layers to it.
That's right.
Yeah. And the map is never the territory. Like it's not possible to have all the information I'm finding.
Yeah.
But what's useful? What are the useful? So the meta thought above that is what are the principles at play here? So it's not about Alex versus Larry. It's about what's happening at a societal level. What's working, what's not working, what's authentic, right? I think is where we're going with that.
Yeah, and that's precisely what I mean. And when you're in media, it's hard to do that because you have to sacrifice accuracy for clarity and time within a
Mhm.
time constraint. So what you're saying is right, is I'm not judging them as much as I'm observing what's happening in context, knowing I don't know what they should be doing and not doing, because how the hell could I?
Yes.
I can't know. All right, Brian, I will see you later today. We've got Red Pill Pathway Workshop, and then we've got Market Authority Planning. And then Maria's got her brand clarity session at 1 Eastern. If anybody wants to come to any of this, go to redpillpathway.com/events, pick the thing you want, claim your guest pass, and show up on the Wheelo Entrepreneur Experience Video Metaverse Campus with us.
Look forward to having you in the dojo too.
I'm going to stay on a few minutes. Oh yeah, and you got the dojo again in the afternoon.
Yeah, 3 o'clock today.
Invincibility Dojo. All right, I'm going to stay on
Yes.
for a few minutes. All right, I want to just talk a little bit about what we were talking about, because Brian and I we start riffing off each other's ideas here, and it gets a little weird. It gets weird. So what I'm saying and what Brian's saying, in a way, is the same thing, but from two different perspectives. And Galileo, I think it was, at least according to Google. So who the hell knows? I don't look up quotes anymore. I'm just like, does that make sense? If it makes sense, I'm like, all right, Galileo said that. Who the hell knows? I've got one of his books here, or a book about him. So, but I don't have time to fact check everything. If it makes sense, it makes sense. Two truths can't contradict each other. That means there's truth and not truth. So if there's truth and not truth, how do I know what's true? This is what we're talking about. Connecting into the source of truth is how I got to truth. And the deeper I get connected to the source of truth, which is inside me, not out in the world to find through getting something from the world, because the world's super confused, if you haven't noticed. Society is confused. The opinions in the society are confused. They're not truth, unless the individual is speaking from experience or observation. That's the difference. So it has to do with resonance and tonality. This is very complex. I'm trying to simplify it, but it's actually very, very simple when you start to get there with it. It's extraordinarily simple. How do you know? It's called resonance. The principle of resonance is key. If someone is speaking like me or Brian on that call from noticing, this is what I observed in my market. If you're observing your market and you're saying, how do I succeed in this market? You're going somewhere now. If you're accepting an opinion from someone about what they've observed, you're going to go in the wrong direction. Why? Because that's what worked for them. So when I was following others, I was going nowhere. But the destiny part of following was to learn how the market functions. I had to spend a couple of years in these people's world to understand their world so I could transcend their world and find my own way. Now, I'm not saying you're going to do it like me. I'm going to say you're going to do it like you, or you're going to go in circles for a long time, potentially forever. You die not having lived. It's that dramatic a difference. How do you live fully embracing reality from experience, direct experience of it? How do I get to that? I learned to shut down my opinion projector as much as possible. Can't turn it off. Can't turn it off because it's part of us. That's our mind. How do I get there? I take back my projections. This is really important for entrepreneurs because now I can be in the marketplace. So when I'm in the marketplace, I can look and I can say, what's going on here? How does this work? I've been doing this my whole life. My entire life, I've been doing that without understanding what I was doing. And there's a lot of friction in that. We were talking about in our More Money Now call earlier today that I run after the Invincibility Dojo that Brian runs about the reality distortion field. So people looked at Steve Jobs and said, Steve Jobs lived in a reality distortion field. I'm like, nah, that's not true. You live in a reality distortion field. Steve Jobs was connected into truth. He knew. If you're an entrepreneur and you feel like, oh, they don't get it, they don't. Why? Because they can't see the evidence yet. But you see the evidence. Now, to get to success is inevitable is when faith turns into knowing. And that's a fight. That's a battle for the ages. Whose battle? Your battle, my battle. Steve Jobs' battle. How do you get through it? You go into it. This is the Alex Hormozy movie theater story. If you read Offers, to me, the rest of that book, it's just a marketing textbook. I get it. I know how to do it. I'm not going to do it. But it's a decent marketing textbook. There's better, but it's decent. But the story of the movie theater is real from my perspective. That's anchored in truth. That's anchored in law of assumption. People talk about the law of attraction a lot, too much, I think, trying to manifest money into bank accounts without enough action and friction and jumping into the fire of reality, meaning my deepest fears. That's what he did. Me too. That's where I see the commonality. Two truths can't contradict each other because they're both true. They're different perspectives. In other words, my view, not my version of truth. There's no versions of truth. There's true and not true. My connection or perspective, view on truth from my own inner experience, Alex Hormozy's perspective and view of truth from his own inner experience are both true. They appear to contradict each other to people who are not paying attention or don't understand yet how laws work. What is the law of assumption? What I assume about myself to be true becomes true with evidence later. Evidence comes later. How did Steve Jobs stand in the fire when everyone is saying, don't do that? People love to talk about the after story with the evidence. How many people understand the before story without the evidence? Very, very few. Very few. That's the problem. The reality distortion field is where? It was Steve Jobs' reality distortion field? No, he was anchored in truth. How do we know that? We saw the result later. He was right. Whose reality distortion field? Everybody else's. Everybody believing in things that aren't true in the society. They're just not true. Why? Because they're projections. That's why. It's other people's projections of confusion from mind. That's what it is. Getting into an understanding of law, principle, and mechanisms that always work is not necessary. You don't have to go where Brian and I did. You have to go where you go. In other words, my own experience in owning it is the solution. Do I have to understand all this philosophy and spiritual advancement stuff? No, it's not necessary. However, I got to understand for myself, you have to understand for yourself, if you're going to succeed as an entrepreneur, coach, or service provider, what that means for you. And then to look ahead and say, what is the action that I must take? I guarantee you that action will go into some fear. And walking into that flame, walking into that fear is the pathway to invincibility, as well as prosperity. Prosperity for me began as a feeling. Prosperity was not manifesting money into a bank account. That's what I tried to do for 2 years, working through Napoleon Hill's book and others. many others, all of them that I could find. And I thought, it's happening. But the money wasn't there. In other words, the evidence wasn't there to show other people, but I knew, and I still do. And that is what prosperity is. And as you get into the feeling of prosperity yourself through anchoring yourself in your own direction through principle, you will find the same. And that is part of the law. That is how it works. And that's got nothing to do with me. I'm just explaining from my experience what I found.